This assignment is quick, but it does help you to understand and get this introduction to blocks. So in the previous video presentation assignment, we created blocks that were inside a file, and we said you could use the Design Center to insert those into other drawings. Well, the common thing that happens is that we insert DWGs into DWGs. We have a whole folder of files that are in our library, and then we insert those files into other files. So here we might have a whole sheet of details that came from a library, or you're putting together something that is a combination of different parts, and each part is brought into an assembly of those parts, like those exploded views that you would see if you buy something and it has like those drawings. So you could bring all those parts in to assemble those from libraries. In this assignment, we're going to insert at least 4 of your previous projects into this new drawing. So you'll start a brand new drawing, and you're going to see what happens when you insert at least 4, and it doesn't matter which 4. I just brought in all of these, and I'll start it from scratch in a few minutes here. But ultimately what you're going to end up with then will just be 4 details. It doesn't matter which ones that we've done in this class, and you're going to double click on them so that you can change their names: detail 1, detail 2, detail 3, detail 4. Just to show you that if you're drawing something, make sure you find out from the company that you work with where their library is of all of these things that have already been drawn, so that you don't draw something that's already been, created. So you're going to start a brand new drawing and then call it assignment, or the name that your professor wants you to use. This is assignment 15, and then you are not going to create layers or anything. You're going to save it, but you'll go up to Insert and down to Blocks from Library. Blocks from Library. And when you do that, you should get this dialog box, this one, so that you can navigate over to your folder, whatever folder that you're using to hold all of your drawings, and then you're going to find the detail that you want to insert, and then double click on that file, and what it does is it loads it into this palette of blocks. You have to give it a few minutes to come in, but once it does, you can then drag this. You can hold your left mouse button down and drag it over here. Now you see where my pointer is? That is the 0, 0 of the original drawing, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a few minutes as well. Now that's one way to drag it with your left mouse button. Another way is to right click on that image and pick Insert. When you do that, then you see you have a little more freedom to pick, because you're not dragging it out and just putting it somewhere. So you can do it that way as well. So you're going to go back up to Insert, or you can go to Insert and Blocks from Library here, or you can go over here because the icon is in this palette right there. It's actually at the bottom of this one. It's over here. There's all kinds of different areas that will bring you back to this. If I go here, it won't do anything because that's only for the first time, the very first time that you work with blocks. And then after that, you've got this palette to work with. You can click on this icon right here to get back to this dialog box and then go for a different one. It doesn't matter which one. You just decide whichever one you want to use. 4 of them, projects that we've done previously, not the floor plans. The floor plans are going to be the larger ones are going to be too big for this. So stick with like the first details that we've worked with before we started working with large floor plans. So after you insert those into your drawing, you can double click on them and pick OK. And now you're inside the block, so we're not going to explode those. And we're going to change the name here of the title to Detail, uppercase, Detail 1. And then pick the green check mark here at the top right and pick Save the Changes right there. And now you've saved the change, and there's Detail 1. So while you're inserting these, I want you to see a few things that we're going to be talking about here. You'll see that all of these layers are created. And now you might understand even more that it's important to develop standards, because look at what happens here. We have a layer called center and one called center lines. We have a layer called dim text and one that has a space in it and one that's dim text. So it's really important to establish standards. And so in this assignment, we're going to use a command to bring all of those layers together. Okay, so what you've done so far is you've started a brand new drawing and you've saved it. And then you inserted 4 of your previous drawings into this drawing. And now, and then you double clicked on the block of each one of these to change the name so that you have detail 1, detail 2, detail 3, and detail 4. It doesn't matter which drawing you use, you can use any one of these. So now we're going to create a new drawing and then set up our standards so that we can create a template. So you can just pick this little plus sign right there because the new drawing is going to be a blank drawing that we're going to use to create specific standards so that we can map and translate these layers from this messed up drawing over to our standard. So this is kind of a little bit of advanced, but I think it's important to understand how to work with layers. You know, go up to, we're going to use this in a little bit, but under manage, there's layer translator. This layer translator is going to be able to take the layers that you have that are all messed up, because you're going to see that that happens when you start inserting from all over the place, especially when you get things from the internet if you don't clean them up ahead of time. Translate from those to your new standard, your standard that we're creating. Okay, so first thing is we need to establish our template, and this is why companies have templates, right? And why it's important to keep everything on the right layer, especially when you're starting to work with other people and other companies, right? So when you start this brand new drawing, let's don't save it yet. You're going to go ahead and create layers, but these layers are going to be specific. Now we're going to create a layer called center that's cyan with the center line center. A layer called dim text that's yellow, like the regular yellow, not like 50 or color 50. You see there's all these yellows. No, down here, color 2. So the cyan is color 4 right there. And then we have a layer called hidden that's going to be green, and it's going to have a line type of hidden. You know how to do that from previous videos. And a layer called object that's going to be white, and it's going to be a line weight of 0.60. Now we may need another one, but those are going to be our basics for our template file. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. Now when we save it, we're going to save it as a template. So we'll go up here to the red A and down to Save As, and then over to Drawing Template. Now you can see I already saved this as assignment 14. It was supposed to be 15, but we're going to save it as, let's save it as your standards. So why don't we use your first name? Why not? First and last name, or just last name? So, right, I'm going to say Grant Standards. So that's going to be like your AutoCAD standards, right? And then notice here we're creating them as a template, drawing template. Go ahead and pick save. And you can write in here my drawing standards if you'd like, because that's what we're doing as a description. Whatever your drawing standards are, go ahead and pick OK. Now you notice that this is saved as a DWT. So it's a file that you can use when you start a brand new drawing to start to work with. All right, so now we can go back to our drawing, the assignment drawing 15, the one that has the 4 drawings in it. And we'll go over to Manage and pick Layer Translator, like that. So these are our different layers that we have in this drawing, because we brought in a bunch of different drawings. And so to translate it to a different one, we're going to pick the load button right there. Here we're going to first change our files of type down at the bottom to drawing template DWT. Now because when we saved that last one, the standards, to as a template, it automatically put it in this template folder, and it should be in this list. There's mine right there. Nothing's in it because it's standard. So I'm going to double click on this DWT, and you see how it loads it right there, and those are our standards, and there's that, right? So now I'm going to be able to hold my control key down and select these two layers that are supposed to be center, and then select on the left side, and then select this translate on the right side. It looks like these are not grayed out, but they are, and pick map. You see what it did? It mapped it over to that layer. So now it's mapping to that layer. And so now I can highlight these two layers that were supposed to be on the dim text layer. So highlight those two and put them on, and then click on this one and pick map. You see how it's giving me a list of the things that are happening right here at the bottom. And then I have objects, so I'm going to highlight objects right there and map them over to objects. And since I have this one, it might be a different color, I'm going to highlight hidden, and then hidden over here, and pick map. And so all of this is going to take the layers that are from this original drawing and map them over to our drawing standards. So the first thing we want to do is to save the translation. And I don't know why it makes us do this, but we're saving it into a file that records what we just did. So let's go ahead and pick save. You see how it's a DWS that is a different file. Make sure you have it in the right folder. You may have to navigate over to where you want to put it. I don't think we're going to need this one, but it might be a good idea to put it in the same folder that you're using. Let's go ahead and pick save. So we needed to save it first, and now we can pick translate. When we pick translate, it will automatically then, if I go back to home and check out my layers, see that it automatically cleans up my layers so that I only have the ones that are my standards, and it puts everything that was on those layers on the right layer. So it's a great way to organize your layers. If you start to get more that you don't want, you get a couple layers that need to go on one. Another choice would be to manually do that, right? Where you would have to go into layer properties. If you had all those layers, you'd have to freeze everything except for the layer that you didn't want, and then you'd have to select it all and move it to the right layer. That gets to be quite a job to only have one layer on and then select it all and put it on the right layer. So in the end, it's better to look at it, use layer translate to clean up your drawing. So the great thing about having a drawing standard DWT is that when you start a brand new drawing, you can start the drawing with those standards. You would still need to save the drawing, but you're starting it already with those standards. So everything from layers to dimension styles and text styles, several things. You could even put your blocks in there and your title block. So many things can go into this drawing template so that when you start a brand new drawing, it automatically starts with those settings. So the assignment is to insert at least 4 of your drawings from previously drawn details into one, and then get the experience of that, right? And then double clicking on the detail to be able to change it without exploding it is another important thing. And then the last thing we did was to create a template so that we could use it to clean up our layers with layer translate. Now, beyond that, when you start a brand new drawing, if I go up here and I go up to the red A and over to new and drawing, I have a choice to either use what we've been using, the acad.dwt, which is completely blank, nothing in it, or that new one that has your standards, because now I just wanted to show you, you started a brand new drawing and you still have to save it for like the next assignment or whatever it is, but there it is, your standards are already in place. So if that's what you want, that's great, because I just wanted to show you, if I start a brand new drawing here with the plus sign, or anytime, even when you start AutoCAD, it's going to go back to that template file. It won't change until you go back to this new drawing and you pick this blank acad.dwt and then you would go back to what we were working with that has absolutely nothing in it. So once you set your drawing template, it stays in place for all new drawings that you create until you come up here and change it from in the red, go up here to the red A and new and drawing, and from this list you use a different template. Yeah, I just want to point out to you that when you're saving a file or when you're opening a file, make sure that you check your files of type to make sure that you're under DWGs or DWTs, so that when you go to open a file, if you don't see your drawings, check out the files of type to make sure that you're looking for the DWGs. Okay. All right. Well, then this is what you'll end up with, and hopefully a few more, things to build to your experiences and knowledge of working with AutoCAD. And I did this in the other video, so I might as well do it here. For our portfolio, we can pick the little printer, pick continue to plot. And as we have been doing the ACAD PDF, just wanted to point out to you that if you've just created something with this PDF, all of these settings, up here, there's kind of a sneaky way to go back and pick up your previous plot. So if you've had a previous plot, the one just before that, which was this ACAD PDF, it'll set everything up for you. So I like to use that. It's good for you to learn though. So there's your ACAD PDF. You have to just kind of verify this, verify the check marks there, and it's on monochrome, and it's landscape. But you also want to verify that and change the window, because the previous print will set up all of this, but the window is going to be different. So when I click on this window button now, I'll be able to click here, pull my mouse across, and click here to create a different window, pick apply to layout, and pick preview. And there's your new drawing. I created this document that I'll post that pulls in from the Autodesk website what are blocks. But here's a quick list of things to know about blocks as we wrap this up. Many of these concepts are supported and were in the videos that we did for the last few modules. You can insert one drawing into another using that insert that we just used, or you can use the Design Center in AutoCAD to access the blocks within a file. We talked about that last week. The Design Center is not accessible for Mac users, but it is a great way to go into the network of blocks or files and find those blocks that are within a file. So like somebody else could come into your drawing here now that you have those blocks inside the file through the Design Center and insert them into their drawing. Okay, when you insert them, the objects become one layer on the current layer. So before you bring furniture in or any kind of blocks, make sure you set the current layer that you want those blocks to go on before you bring them in. Okay. You can decide to explode the block into original line work, or you can double click on them to go inside the block and make the changes, then save those changes. That's what we just did. All blocks with the same name in the drawing will be updated. Depending on how you insert them, the insertion point will be 0, 0. You notice when we brought those in, they were at the 0, 0 of the original drawing right there. If you use the clipboard to copy paste objects from one file to another, and you paste them as a block option, the block will have a random name. So when you look at that drop down, you'll see gibberish, right? You can change the name of the blocks once they're inserted using the copy paste and the ones that, well, actually any really, by typing the word rename at the command line and following the information. Okay. Next, to change the insertion point, you can go into the original file, probably in your library, and move the objects to 0, 0 for that insertion point. Or you can type the word base at the command line and establish the insertion point in the original drawing, the drawing that's in your library that you're going to insert into another drawing. I didn't include it, but I'm going to add another command called purge, P-U-R-G-E. The purge command will help you to purge out anything that has not been used. So over here, if I type in P-U-R-G-E and enter, anything that's not been used in the drawing, this is the perfect thing to use for archiving, or let's say you've brought in a bunch of blocks and they've been exploded. All these blocks can be purged. or extra layers. It just cleans up the drawing a little bit more. All right, then, that's a little bit more about blocks, and hopefully you learned a few things in this assignment as well.